been discussing your sermon last Sunday all week long. You know, it's really remarkable how you have captured the spirit of Brooklyn in just 2 short years.
Well, that's quite gratifying, Miss Brewster.
Well, living all of our lives next to the church, we've seen so many ministers come and go. But we always say the spirit of Brooklyn is friendliness. And your sermons are not so much sermons as friendly talks.
Personally, I've always enjoyed my talks with Colonel Gibbons. Or have I met him yet?
No, dear. Are the biscuits good?
Boy!
Dr. Hart, will you have another biscuit?
Oh, no, I'll have no appetite for dinner now. I always eat too many of your biscuits just to taste that lovely jam.
Oh, but you haven't tried the quince. Oh, Sister and I always put a little apple in to take the tartness out.
No, thank you.
Well, then we'll just send a jar on over.
No, you keep it here so I can be sure of having your biscuits with it.
Oh, well. I do hope they don't make us use that imitation flour again. But with this war and all, you know, it may not be very charitable of me, but I have almost come to the conclusion that this Mr. Hitler is not a Christian.
If only Europe were on another planet.
Europe, sir?
Yes, Teddy?
Point your gun the other way.
Gun?
To the west. There's your danger. There's your enemy. Japan!
Teddy.
Oh, yes, of course.
Not so much talk about the canal, and more about the canal.
Oh, Teddy dear, no more talk of war. Now, would you like some more tea?
No, thank you, Aunt Abby.
Dr. Harper?
Oh, no, thank you. You know, Miss Sabby, the war and violence seem far removed from these surroundings.
Oh, yes, it is pleasant here, isn't it?
Yes, pleasant. The virtues of another time, they're all here in this place. The gentle virtues that went out with candlelight and good manners and low taxes.
Well, it is one of the oldest houses in Brooklyn. It's just as it was when Grandfather Brewster built and furnished it. Well, except for the electricity. And we use that as little as possible. Mortimer persuaded us to put it in.
No, I can understand that. Your nephew Mortimer seems to live only by electric lights.
Oh, the poor boy has to work so late. Oh, I understand he's taking Elaine with him to the theater again tonight. Teddy, dear, your brother Mortimer will be here a bit later.
Delighted.
Well, we're always so glad that it's Elaine Mortimer takes to the theater with him.
I'll be honest, Miss Abby, it's a new experience for me, having to wait up till 3 o'clock in the morning for my daughter to be returned.
Oh, Dr. Harper, I do hope you don't disapprove of Mortimer.
Well...
I mean, my sister and I would feel so guilty. After all, it was in this house that your daughter met Mortimer.
Of course, which is why I'll say immediately that I find Mortimer himself to be quite a worthy gentleman. I have watched the growing intimacy between him and my daughter with some trepidation, however, for one reason, Miss Abby.
Oh, you mean his stomach?
Stomach?
His dyspepsia. Oh, he suffers from it. So, the poor boy.
No, I'll be frank with you. I'm speaking of your nephew's unfortunate connection with the theater.
The theater? Oh, no, Dr. Harper. Mortimer writes for a New York newspaper.
Oh, I know, Miss Abby, I know, but a dramatic critic is constantly exposed to the theater. And I can't help but wonder that some of them do develop an interest.
Oh, no, not Mortimer. You need have no fear of that. Mortimer hates the theater.
Really?
Yes. He writes such horrible things about it. But you can't blame the boy. He was really so happy writing about real estate, which he really knew something about. And then they just up and make him take this terrible night position.
My.
But as Mortimer says, the theater can't last much longer. In the meantime, it's a living. I don't know, if you give it maybe 1 or 2 more years, perhaps, then it... Oh, I wonder who that could be. No, Teddy, dear, I'll go, thank you. Now, Officer Brophy, do come in.
Well, Miss Brewster.
How are you, Officer Klein?
Very well, Mr. Brewster.
Officer O'Hara?
What news have you brought me?
Colonel, we have nothing to report.
Splendid. Thanks, gentlemen. Eddie's.
You all know Dr. Harper?
Sure. Hello, Dr. Harper.
We've come for the toys for the Christmas
Ah,
fund.
yes.
It's wonderful work your men do, fixing discarded toys to give poor children a happier Christmas.
It gives us something to do and have to sit around the station. You're tired playing cards and you start cleaning your gun. And the next thing you know, you've shot yourself in the foot.
Oh, my. Teddy, dear, would you go upstairs and get that big box from your Aunt Martha's room and bring it down? So, how's Mr. Brophy today?
Charge!
He's been quite ill, you know.
Pneumonia.
Oh, I am sorry to hear that.
He's doing better. A little weak, though.
Oh, well, I'm going to get you some beef broth to take to him.
Don't bother, Miss Abby. You've done so much for him already.
It's no bother, no bother. Sister Martha and I made it this morning. Right now, she's taking some to poor Mr. Benitsky. I'll only be a moment. All of you just sit down and make yourselves comfortable.
She really shouldn't go to all that trouble.
Listen, try to stop her or other sister from doing something nice, and for nothing. They don't even care how you vote.
When I received my call to Brooklyn and moved in next door, my wife wasn't well. When she died, well, for months before that, well, if I've known pure kindness and absolute generosity, it's because I've known the Brewster sisters.
Colonel, you promised not to do that.
But I had to call a cabinet meeting to get a release of those supplies.
He used to do that in the middle of the night, and the neighbors raised Cain with us. They're a little afraid of him anyways.
He's absolutely harmless.
Suppose he does think he's Teddy Roosevelt. There's a lot worse people he could think he was.
Damn shame. A nice family like this hatching a cuckoo.
Oh, his father, the old girl's brother, was some sort of a genius, wasn't he? And their father, Teddy's grandfather. Seems to me I've heard he was a little crazy too.
Yeah, crazy like a fox, but he made $1 million.
Really? Here in Brooklyn?
Yeah, patent medicine. He was a kind of a quack of some sort. Old Sergeant Edwards remembers him. He used his house here as some sort of a clinic and tried it out on people.
Hey, I hear he used to make mistakes occasionally too.
The department didn't bother him much because he was pretty useful in autopsy sometimes, especially poison cases.
But whatever he did, he left his daughters fixed for life. Thank God for that.
Like they ever spend it on themselves.
Oh, I'm well aware of their charities.
You don't know a tenth of it. When I was with the Missing Persons Bureau, we were trying to trace an old man we never did find. You know, there's a renting agency that has this house down on its list for furnished rooms. They don't rent rooms. You can bet that anyone who comes here looking for a room is away with a good meal and probably a few dollars in the kick.
It's just their way of digging up people to do some good to.
Well, now, isn't this nice?
Good afternoon, Miss Brewster.
Oh, good afternoon, Officer Brophy, Dr. Harper, Officer Klein, and Officer O'Hara.
How are you, Mr. Rooster? We stopped in to get the Christmas toys.
Oh, yes, Teddy's Army and Navy. They do wear out. I'll go get them. They're upstairs.
The colonel's upstairs after them. The cabinet has to okay it.
Oh, of course. I do hope Mr. Brophy is feeling better.
He's doing better. Your sister's getting me some soup to take to him.
Yes, we just made that this morning. I just took some to a poor man who broke ever so many bones.
Oh, Martha, you're back, dear. How's poor Mr. Benitsky?
Well, I'm afraid it's very serious, my dear. The doctor was there. He's going to amputate in the morning.
Can we be present?
No. I asked him, and he said it's against the rules of the hospital.
You could have been of no service. You need to spare yourself something.
Officer Brophy, here's the beef broth. Now, you'll be sure it's good and hot.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, this is fine. This is fine. It'll make a lot of kids happy. At O'Malley boys, and that's about soldiers.
That's Durham Miles. I retired him. What's this? The Oregon?
Oh, it's Teddy.
But the Oregon goes to Australia.
Teddy!
No, I've given my word to Fighting Bob Evans.
Now, Teddy.
What matters what kid gets it? Bobby Evans? Izzy Cohen? We'll run along now, ma'am, and thank you very much.
Oh, you're most welcome. Goodbye.
And I must be going.
Dr. Harper, before you leave...
Charge! Charge the blockhouse!
The blockhouse?
Oh, the stairs are always San Juan Hill.
Have you ever tried to persuade him that he wasn't Teddy Roosevelt?
No.
He so enjoys being Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, wait, there was that one time a few years ago, if you remember, Martha? We thought if he could be George Washington, it would be a nice change for him.
He stayed under his bed for days and just wouldn't be anybody.
And we'd so much rather have him be Mr. Roosevelt than nobody.
Well, as long as he's happy, and more importantly, that you're happy. You will see that he signs this.
Oh, yes.
What are these?
Dr. Harper has made arrangements for Teddy to go to Happydale Sanitarium after we pass.
Well, then why does Teddy need to sign the papers now?
Well, it's best to have it all taken care of ahead of time. If the Lord should take you away suddenly, well, perhaps we couldn't persuade Teddy to commit himself, and that would mean an unfortunate legal procedure. Mr. Witherspoon understands they're to be filed away until the time comes to use them.
Mr. Witherspoon, who is he?
Oh, he's the superintendent of Happydale.
Oh,
Dr. Harper has arranged for him to come tomorrow or the next day to meet Teddy.
Well, I must be going, or Elaine will be over here looking for me.
Oh, well, do give our love to Elaine. Oh, and Dr. Harper, please don't think too harshly of Mortimer just because he's a drama critic. Somebody has to do these things.
Abby, have you only just had tea? Isn't it rather late?
Yes. And dinner's going to be late, too.
But why?
Well, oh, Teddy, dear. Good news. You're going to Panama to dig another lock for the canal.
Delighted! That's bully, just bully. I shall prepare for this journey at once.
Oh, Abby!
Charge!
While I was out?
Oh, yes. I didn't know when you were back. I would be back, and I was all alone. And Dr. Harper was coming.
All by yourself.
Oh, I did fine.
I'll run right downstairs.
Oh, no, there wasn't time, and I was all alone.
Well, then, where?
Just look what's in the window seat. Oh, you can't be.
No.
Oh, it was the door. Yes, coming. Oh, do come in. Hello, Elaine, darling. How are you?
Good afternoon, Miss Abby. Good afternoon, Miss Martha. I thought Father was here.
Oh, he just this minute left. Didn't you meet him?
No, I took the shortcut through the cemetery. Has Mortimer come yet?
No, not yet, dear.
Well, he asked me to meet him here. Do you mind if I wait?
Oh, not at all.
Do sit down. Do sit down.
We're going to have to speak to Mortimer about this, though. He's done it too many times.
Done what?
He was raised to know better. When a gentleman takes a young lady out, he is to call for her at her house.
There's something about calling for a girl at a parsonage that discourages any man who doesn't embroider.
Well, dear, he's done this far too often. We are going to speak to him.
Oh, please don't. After young men whose idea of a nightlife is taking me to a prayer meeting, it's wonderful to go to the theater almost every night of my life.
It's very comforting for us, too, dear. If Mortimer has to see the plays that Mortimer has to see, at least he's sitting next to a minister's daughter.
Oh, my. Elaine, what you must think of us not having cleared away the tea things by this time. Dear.
Now, don't you worry about anything in the kitchen until Mortimer comes, and I'll come out and help you.
do that
Should
for
be here any minute, dear.
Father must have been surprised not to find me at home. I should run over and say goodnight to him.
It is a shame that you missed him.
If Mortimer comes, you tell him I'll be right back. Oh, hello, Mort.
Hello, Elaine. Hello, Aunt Martha.
Abby, Mortimer's here.
Were you going somewhere?
I was just going to tell Father not to wait up for me.
I didn't know that was still being done, even in Brooklyn.
Oh, Mortimer. You're here, dear.
Hello, Aunt Abby.
Oh, how are you, dear?
I'm well. You look good. You haven't changed much since yesterday.
Oh, my. It was just yesterday, wasn't it? Oh, we are seeing such a great deal of you lately. Well, do sit down. Do sit down, sit down.
Don't we have something to do in the kitchen? The tea things?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, the chiefings. You two just make yourselves comfortable. Just make yourselves comfortable.
Well, can you take a hint?
No, that was rather obvious. Lack of inventiveness, I should say.
Yes, that's exactly what you'd say.
So, where do you want to go for dinner tonight?
I don't care. I'm not very hungry.
Well, I just had breakfast. Suppose we wait until after the show?
That'll make it pretty late, won't it?
Not with the little stinker we're seeing tonight. From what I've heard, we'll be at Blake's by 10 o'clock.
You really ought to be fair to these plays.
Are these plays fair to me?
I've never seen you walk out in a musical.
Well, a musical isn't opening tonight.
No?
Darling, you have to learn the rules. With a musical, there's always 4 changes of title and 3 postponements. They like it in New Haven, but it needs a lot of work.
I was hoping it was a musical.
Oh, you have such a light mind.
Not at all. Musicals somehow have a humanizing effect on you. After a serious play, we join the proletariat in the subway and I listen to a lecture on the drama. But after a musical, you take me home in a taxi. And you make a few passes.
Now, darling, that's a very inaccurate piece of reporting.
I'll admit, after the Berman play, you told me I had authentic beauty. And that's a hell of a thing to say to a girl. After our first musical, you told me I had nice legs. And I have, too.
For a minister's daughter, you know an awful lot about life. Where did you learn it?
The choir loft.
I'll explain that to you sometime, darling. The close connection between eroticism and religion.
Religion doesn't make it as high as the choir loft. Which reminds me, I should tell Father not to wait up for me tonight.
You just can't seem to rationalize it.
What?
My falling in love with a girl who lives in Brooklyn.
Falling in love? You are not stooping to the articulate, are you?
The only way for me to regain my self-respect is to keep you in New York.
Keep?
Oh, no. I've come to the conclusion that you're holding out for the legalities.
I can afford to be a good girl for quite a few years now.
I can't wait that long. Where could we be married in a hurry? Say, tonight.
I'm afraid Father would insist on officiating.
Oh, I'll bet your father could make even the marriage service sound pedestrian.
You're not by chance writing a review of it, are you?
Forgive me, darling. It's an occupational disease. I may give that play tonight a good review after all.
Oh, darling, don't pretend you love me that much.
Be sure to tell your father not to wait up tonight.
I think I'd better tell him to wait up.
I'll telephone Winchell and tell him to publish the bonds.
Nevertheless.
All right, everything formal and legal, but no later than next month.
Darling, I'll talk to Father and set the dates.
No, we'll have to wait and see what's in rehearsal. There'll be a lot of other first nights in October.
Hello, Mortimer.
Mr. President, how are you?
What news have you brought me?
Just as Mr. President, the country is squarely behind you.
Yes, I know. Isn't it wonderful? Well, goodbye. Goodbye.
Where are you off to, Teddy?
Panama!
Animals in the cellar. He digs locks for the canal down there.
You're so sweet to him. He's very fond of you.
Well, Teddy was always my favorite brother.
Your favorite? Were there more of you?
Well, there is another brother, Jonathan.
I've never heard of him. Parents have never mentioned him.
We don't like to talk about Jonathan. He had to leave Brooklyn very early, by request. Jonathan was the kind of boy who liked to cut worms in two with his teeth.
Well, what became of him?
We don't know. He wanted to go become a surgeon like grandfather, but he wouldn't go to medical school first, and his practice got him into trouble.
Oh my, aren't you two going to be late for the theater?
We won't have to start for half an hour. We're skipping dinner.
Oh, well then, I'll just leave you two alone.
Don't bother, darling. I have to run home and say goodnight to Father. Before I go out with you, he likes to pray over me a little. I won't be long. I'll take the shortcut through the cemetery.
If that prayer isn't too long, I'll have time to leave you beside the still waters.
My Mortimer, I think that's the first time I've ever heard you quote the Bible. We just knew Elaine would be a good influence on you.
By the way, I'm going to marry her.
Oh, Mortimer, how wonderful! Martha, come in here. I have such wonderful news. Elaine and Mortimer are
is the happiest girl in the world.
Happy? Just look at her leaping over those gravestones. Say, what's that?
What's what, dear?
See that statue there? That's a horned Anita Karnina.
Oh, no, dear. That's Emma B. Stout, ascending to heaven.
No, on the statue's left ear. See that bird? That's a red-crested swallow. I've only seen one of those once before in my life.
I don't know how you can be thinking about a bird at a time like this. What with your engagement and Elaine and everything?
It's a vanishing species. Thoreau was quite fond of them. By the way, when I was here last week, I left a large envelope. In it was one of my chapters on my book on Thoreau. Have you seen it?
Well, if you left it here, dear, it must be here somewhere.
Now, what can you tell us about your plans? When are you getting married? And what else can you tell us about Elaine?
Elaine? Elaine thought it was brilliant.
What was, dear?
My chapter on Thoreau.
Well, when Elaine comes back, we'll just have to have a little celebration and drink to your happiness. Oh, Martha, is there any of that Lady Baltimore cake left?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I'll open a bottle of wine.
And to think it happened in this room.
Oh, yes. Oh. Now, Mortimer, dear, with your fiancé sitting beside you tonight in the theater, perhaps you'll enjoy the play for a change. Maybe it will be something romantic. What's the name of it, dear?
Murder Will Out. When the curtain goes up, the first thing you'll see is a dead body. Aunt Abby, come in here.
Yes, dear, what is it?
You were making plans for Teddy to go to that sanitarium, Happydale, right?
Oh, yes, Dr. Harper was here today. He brought all of the papers for Teddy to sign. Here they are.
He's got to sign them right away.
Oh, there's no such hurry as that.
He's got to sign them now. He's down in the basement. Get him up here.
No, Dr. Harper thinks we can do that a little bit later.
After we pass on. But, you know, when Teddy's down in the basement, digging the canal, you just can't get his mind on anything else.
Teddy's got to go to Happydale now, tonight.
No, dear, that's not until after we're gone.
Right away, I tell you, right away.
Oh, Mortimer, how can you say something like that? We'll never be separated from Teddy as long as we live.
Well, darlings, I've got some frightful news for you. Now, we've all got to try and keep our heads. You know, we sort of humored Teddy because we thought he was harmless.
Well, he is harmless.
He was harmless. That's why he has to go to Happydale. That's why he has to be confined.
Mortimer, why have you turned against Teddy, your own brother?
You have to know sometime. It might as well be now. Teddy's killed a man.
Oh, nonsense.
Dear.
There's a body in the window seat.
Oh, yes, dear, we know.
You know?
Well, of course, dear, but it has nothing to do with Teddy.
Now that you've seen it, you just forget the whole thing.
Forget.
Well, yes, we never dreamed you'd peek.
But who is he?
His name is Hoskins, dear. Adam Hoskins. Now, that's really all I know about him, except he was a Methodist.
What's all you know? What's he doing here? What happened to him?
He died.
Aunt Martha, men just don't get into window seats and die.
Oh, no, he died first.
How?
Mortimer, don't be so inquisitive. Very well, then. He died because he drank some wine with poison in it.
How did the poison get in the wine?
Well, we put it in the wine because it's less noticeable. In tea, it has a definite odor.
You put it in the wine?
Yes, and I put Mr. Hoskins in the window seat because Dr. Harper was coming.
So you know what you've done? You didn't want Dr. Harper to see the body?
Well, no, dear. Not at tea. That wouldn't have been very nice. No, you just forget the whole thing. I don't think that Aunt Martha and I are entitled to our little secrets.
And don't you tell Elaine. By the way, while I was out, Abby, I did see Mrs. Schultz again. She's feeling much better, but she would like us to bring Junior to the movies.
Oh, yes, we must do that. Well, tomorrow or the next day.
But this time we will see what we want to see. I do not want Junior to bring me to another one of those scary pictures.
Yeah. Hello, Al? You know who this is, right? Say, Al, when I left the office, I told you where I was going. Okay, what time is that? Let's see. It'll take you 30 minutes to get to Brooklyn. What time have you got? Well, that's right. Well, I must be there. Hey, Debbie! And Martha! Come in here!
Yes, dear, what is it?
What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
What are we going to do about what, dear?
There's a body in there!
Yes, dear. Mr. Hoskins.
Well, good heavens, I can't turn you over to the police, but what am I going to do?
Well, the first thing you can do is stop getting so excited.
And stop worrying. We already told you to forget all about it.
But Mr. Hotchkiss is in the window seat.
Hoskins, dear, Hoskins.
Well, whatever his name is, you can't just leave him in
I
there.
don't intend to, dear.
Oh, no, Teddy's down in the cellar digging the lock now.
You mean you're going to bury Mr. Hotchkiss in the cellar?
Of course,
Hoskins.
dear. That's what we've done with the others.
No, you can't bury Mr. Hoskins in the... Others?
Oh, yes, dear, our other gentleman.
When you say others, you mean more than one others.
Oh, yes, I believe this makes 11,
No,
doesn't it,
dear.
Abby?
No, this makes 12, but...
Oh, no, Abby, I think you're mistaken.
No, I
It's
distinctly
11.
recall that when Mr. Hoskins came through that door, that he would make just an even dozen.
Oh, but you cannot count the first one, Abby.
Well, I was counting the first one, so that makes 12.
Hello? Oh, Al, it's good to hear your voice.
Shh! I told you this thing
No, Al, I haven't been drinking. Sober as a lark. I'm just feeling a little Perrin-hello. You wouldn't know. Say, Al, you got to do something for me, okay? Get a hold of George. Tell him he's got to cover the play for me tonight. I can't make it. No, you're wrong. I'll tell you all about it tomorrow. Well, this is my department and I'm running it. You get a hold of George. All right, where were we? 12!
Yes. Abby thinks we should count the first one, and that does make 12.
All right, now. Who was the first one?
Oh, Mr. Midgley. But your Aunt Martha doesn't think... Well, he came here looking for a room.
You see, we can't claim credit for him because he just died.
She means without any help from us. He came here looking for a room.
It was right after you moved to New York.
Oh, yes, and your room was empty, and, well, we couldn't see it going to waste. So he came to rent it.
He was such a lonely old man.
Oh, all of his kith and kin were dead, and he was so forlorn.
I
And
just felt so sorry for him.
oh, and then, when his heart attack came on him, and he died sitting right in that chair. Well, he looked so peaceful there. You remember, Martha? Oh, well, we decided right then and there, if we could help any other lonely old men to find that peace, we would.
Died right in this chair? How awful for you.
Oh, no, dear. It was rather like old times. Grandfather always had a cadaver or two around the house. Teddy was digging the Panama Canal, and he thought Mr. Midgley was a yellow fever victim.
Which meant he had to be buried immediately.
So brought him down and put him in the lock. And that's why we told you not to worry. We know just what to do.
So that's how this all started. That man walking in here and dropping dead.
Well, of course, we couldn't count on that happening again. So,
Well, you know those bottles of poison up on the shelves in Grandfather's laboratory.
and you know your Aunt Martha's knack for mixing things. Well, you've eaten enough of her pickle, eh?
Well, for a gallon of elderberry wine, I use 1 teaspoonful of arsenic and a half teaspoonful of strychnine and just a pinch of cyanide.
That should give it quite a kick.
Yes. One of our gentlemen even had time to say, "Oh, delicious."
Well, I'd better get started with the dinner things.
Now, dear, are you sure you can't stay for dinner?
I'm trying a new recipe.
I couldn't eat a thing.
Dear. Well, now that you know everything, I feel so much better and so relieved. Oh, you've got to wait for Elaine, don't you? Oh, how happy you must be. Well, I'll just leave you alone with your happy little thoughts.
Oh, it's you.
Don't be cross, darling. Father could see that I was excited, so I told him all about us. One that made it kind of hard to leave. But don't worry, he's not going to wait up for me tonight.
You run along home, Elaine. I'll call you up tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
You know I call you up every day or two.
But we're going to the theater tonight.
No, we're not.
Well, why not?
Well, listen, dear, something's come up.
Well, what is it? Mortimer, you lost your job?
No, I didn't lose my job. I'm just not covering the play tonight. So you run along home, Elaine, okay?
But I've got to know what's happened. Certainly you can tell me.
No, dear, I can't.
But if we're going to be married...
Married?
Have you forgotten that not 15 minutes ago you proposed to me?
I did? Oh, yes, I did. Well, as far as I know, that's still on.
Listen, you can't propose to a girl 1 minute and then throw her out of the house the next.
I'm not throwing you out of the house, dear. Would you please get out of here?
No, I'm not going anywhere. Not until I've had some sort of an explanation.
Elaine! Hello? Hold on a minute, will you, Al? All right, it's important, but can it wait? Just hold on. Look, Elaine, you're a sweet girl and I love you. But I've got something on my mind right now, and I need to be alone with my thoughts.
Don't try to be masterful.
When we're married, and I have problems to face on my own, I hope you're less tedious and uninspired.
When we're married, if we're married, I hope I find you adequate.
Elaine! Elaine! Hello? Hello, Al? Hello? Hello? Hello, Al? Hello?
Mortimer, that's the doorbell, not the telephone. Hello, won't you sit in?
I understand you have a room to rent.
Please.
Are you the lady of the house?
Yes, I'm Miss Brewster, and this is my sister, another Miss Brewster.
My name is Gibbs.
Well, won't you come in? Do sit down. Oh, 1 moment. We were just setting the table for dinner.
Hello, city desk? Let me talk to Al. Al! City desk! What? I'm sorry, wrong number.
I really would like to see the room.
Oh, well, why don't you sit down first and let's get acquainted?
Yes.
That won't do much good if I don't like the room.
Now, is your home here in Brooklyn?
Don't have a home. Live in a hotel. Don't like it.
Hello, city desk?
Well, is your family, are they Brooklyn people?
I don't have a family.
Oh, all alone.
Yep.
Well, Martha, you have come to just the right house.
Hello, Al? More. We got cut off. Look, I can't cover the play tonight. That's all there is to it. I can't.
What church do you go to. There's an Episcopal church practically right next door.
I'm Presbyterian. Or at least I used to be.
What's George doing in Bermuda? Of course I told him to go to Bermuda. It's my department, isn't it? Well, there's got to be somebody there. Look around.
Is there always this much noise?
He doesn't live with us.
How about one of the office boys? The bright one. The one we don't like? Well, you go look for him and I'll hold on.
I really would like to see the room.
Well, it's upstairs. Why don't you try a glass of our wine first?
Never touch it.
Oh, but we make it ourselves. It's elderberry wine.
Elderberry wine? I haven't had elderberry wine since I was a child. Thank you.
Well, there's got to be some printers around the place. Look, Al, the fellow who sets my copy, his name is Joe. He ought to know about what I write. He's the third machine on the left. But Al, he might turn out to be another Burns Mantle.
Do you have your own elderberry bushes?
No, but the cemetery is full of them.
No, I'm not drinking, but I'm going to start now.
Do you serve meals?
Well, we might. But first, why don't you see if you like our wine first?
Mortimer.
Not that one!
No! No! Get out of here! Do you want to die? Run! Run!
Now you've spoiled everything, Mortimer!
I don't know how to explain this to you, but you can't do things like that. Not only is it against the law, but it's wrong. It's not a very nice thing to do. People wouldn't understand. He wouldn't understand.
Abby, we shouldn't have told Mortimer.
What I mean is this has become a very bad habit.
Now, Mortimer, we don't try to interfere with the things that you like to do. I don't see why you should interfere with us.
Hello? All right, I'll see the first act and I'll pan the hell out of it. Well, look, Al, you gotta do something for me, okay? Get a hold of O'Brien, our lawyer, the head of our legal department. Have him meet me at the theater, okay? Now, I'm starting out now. Don't let me down on this. Listen, darlings, I've got to go to the theater. I can't get out of it. But before I go, I want you to promise me something.
That would depend on what it is.
I love you both, and I know that you love me. You know I would do anything in the world for you, and I want you to do just this little thing for me.
And what would that be?
Don't do anything. I mean, don't do anything. Don't let anyone in this house, and leave Mr. Hoskins right where he is.
Why?
I need time to think, and I've got quite a lot to think about. You know I wouldn't want anything bad to happen to you.
Well, what on earth could happen to us?
Anyway, you'll do this for me, please?
Well, we were planning to hold services before dinner.
Services?
Well, you don't think we would bury Mr. Hoskins without a full Methodist service? After all, he was Methodist.
Can it wait until I get back?
Oh, Mortimer, then you could join us. Oh, you'll enjoy the services, especially the hymns. Oh, Martha, do you remember how beautifully he used to sing in the choir before his voice changed?
And you won't let anyone in this house while I'm gone.
Yeah.
It's a promise?
Well,
Oh, Martha, we can do this little thing for him now that Mortimer's cooperating with us. All right then, Mortimer.
All right. Have you any stationery? I'll be back just as soon as I can. There's a man I gotta meet.
Yes, dear. Yes, I do hope this will do.
Yes, I can save time if I write my review on the way to the theater.
oh.
My goodness.
Mortimer didn't seem quite himself today.
No, and I think I know why.
Why?
Well, dear, he's only just become engaged to be married, and I suppose that would make any man nervous.
I'm so happy for Elaine. And I do think that their honeymoon will give Mortimer a real vacation. He hasn't had much rest this summer.
Oh, no. But at least he didn't go kiting off to China or Spain or whatever.
I never could understand why he wanted to go to those places.
Well, I think to Mortimer, the theater is pretty small potatoes. You know, I think he needs something bigger to criticize, like the human race.
Oh, Abby, if Mortimer's going to come to the services, we're going to need another hymnal.
Oh, yes.
There's one in my room.
Oh, yes. You know, Martha dear, it really is my turn to read the services. But since you weren't here, I'd like you to do it.
Oh, Abby, how sweet. Are you sure?
Oh, it's only fair.
I'll wear my black paisley with Mother's old brooch.
I'll get it.
Oh, no, Abby. We promised Mortimer we wouldn't let anyone in.
Well, who do you suppose it could be?
I'll go look.
Well, who is it?
It's two men. I've never seen them before.
Are you sure?
Well, there's a car by the curb. They must have come in that.
Oh, Lord.
Do you recognize them?
You know, they're strangers to me, too.
Dear, we'll just have to pretend we're not at home.
Come in, Doctor. This is the home of my youth. As a boy, I couldn't wait to escape from this place. Now I'm glad to escape back into it.
Yeah, Johnny, it's a fine hideout.
The family must still live here. There's something so unmistakably Brewster about the Brewsters. I hope there's a fatted calf awaiting the return of the prodigal.
Yeah, Johnny, I'm hungry. But look, Johnny, drinks.
As though we were expected. A good omen.
Who are you and what are you doing here?
Why, Aunt Abby, Aunt Martha, it's Jonathan.
You just get out of here.
I'm Jonathan, your nephew, Jonathan.
You're not Jonathan, our nephew. You're nothing like him now. You just go on and get out of here.
But I am Jonathan. And this is Dr. Einstein.
He's not Dr. Einstein either.
Not Dr. Albert Einstein, Dr. Herman Einstein.
You're not Jonathan now. You just get right out of here now.
I see you're still wearing the lovely garnet ring that Grandma Brewster bought in England. And you, Aunt Martha, still the high collars to hide the scar where Grandfather's acid burned you.
Oh, my.
Well, his voice sounds like Jonathan.
Have you been in an accident?
No, my face. Dr. Einstein is responsible for that. He's a plastic surgeon. He changes people's faces.
But I've seen that face before. Do you remember when we took the Schultz boy to the movies and I was so frightened? It was that face.
Oh.
Oh, it was.
Easy, Johnny. Ladies, in the last 5 years, I've given Johnny 3 new faces. And I give him another one right away. But this last face, well, I saw that picture too, right before I operated. I was intoxicated.
You see, Doctor? You see what you've done to me? Even my own family!
Johnny, you're home in this lovely house. Ladies, you know it's Jonathan. Johnny, they know it's you. You know it's him. Tell him so. Tell him.
Jonathan, it has been a good many years, so what have you been doing?
Yes, Jonathan, where have you been?
Oh, England, South Africa, Australia. The last 5 years, Chicago. Dr. Einstein and I were in business there together.
We were in Chicago for the World's Fair.
We found Chicago rather warm.
Well, yeah, it got hot for us too.
Well, it's wonderful to be back in Brooklyn again. And you, Abby. Martha, you don't look a day older, just as I remembered you. Sweet, charming, hospitable. And dear Teddy, did he ever get into politics? My little brother, Doctor, was determined to become president.
Oh, Teddy's fine, just fine. And Mortimer's well, too.
I know about Mortimer. I've seen his picture at the head of his column. He's evidently fulfilled all the promise of his early nasty nature.
We're very fond of Mortimer.
Well, Jonathan, it's been very nice to see you again.
Bless you, Aunt Martha. It's good to be home again.
Martha, we mustn't let what's on the stove boil over.
Yes, if you'll excuse us for a moment, Jonathan, and unless you're going
Martha!
somewhere quickly. Oh, yes.
Well, Johnny, what do we do from here? We gotta think fast. The police gotta picture that face. I gotta operate. I gotta find some place for you soon. And I gotta find a place for Mr. Spinalzo, too.
Don't waste any worry on that rat.
Johnny, you've got a dead body in a rumble seat. We can't leave him there.
Forget Mr. Spinalzo.
Johnny, what are we going to do? We can't leave him outside?
You remember, Doctor? You remember why he died? He said I looked like Boris Karloff. That's your work, Doctor. You did that to me.
I find a place. I fix you up quick.
Tonight.
But tonight, Johnny, I gotta eat first. I'm hungry. I'm weak.
We're glad that you remembered us and stopped in to say hello. But you were never very happy in this house, and we were never very happy while you were in it. So we have come to say goodbye.
Aunt Abby, I can't say that your feeling toward me comes as a surprise. I've spent a great many hours regretting the many heartaches I must have given you as a boy.
Oh, well, yes, Jonathan, you were quite a trial to us.
But my great disappointment is for Dr. Einstein. I promised him that no matter how rushed we were in passing through Brooklyn, I'd bring him here for one of Aunt Martha's home-cooked dinners.
Oh, well, there wouldn't be enough.
Well, actually, Abby, it is a rather large pot roast.
Pot roast?
It would only be polite to you.
Thank you, Aunt Martha. We'll stay to dinner.
Oh, well, I'll be out to help you in a moment.
Yes.
Well, Jonathan, if you'd like to freshen up before dinner, please feel free to use the washroom in Grandfather's old laboratory.
Is that still there?
Oh, yes, just as he left it. Now, I'm going to help Aunt Martha since we're all in such a hurry.
Well, we get a meal anyway.
Grandfather's laboratory, and just as it was, Doctor, a perfect operating room.
Too bad we can't use it.
After you've finished with me, why, we could make a fortune here. The laboratory, that large ward in the attic, 10 beds, Doctor, and Brooklyn is crying for your talents.
But why work yourself up, Johnny? At least for Brooklyn, I think we're a year too late.
You don't know this town, Doctor. Practically everybody in Brooklyn needs a new face.
But Johnny, all the old faces are locked up.
A very small percentage. And besides, the boys in Brooklyn are famous for paying generously to stay out of jail.
Take it easy, Johnny. Your aunts, they don't want us here.
We're here for dinner, aren't we?
Yeah, and after dinner?
Leave it to me, Doctor. I'll handle it. Why, this house will be our headquarters for years.
Oh, that would be beautiful, Johnny. This nice, quiet house. Those little old lady aunts of yours, I love them already. Shall I get the bags?
Doctor, we must wait until we're invited.
But you just said...
We'll be invited.
Johnny, it's like comes true, a beautiful dream. The only thing is, I hope you're not dreaming. This house is so... peaceful.
That's what makes this house so perfect for us, Doctor. It's so peaceful.
Charge!
Yes, aunties, those 5 years in Chicago were amongst the busiest and happiest of my life.
And then we take a side trip to South Bend, Indiana.
They wouldn't be interested in our experience in Indiana.
Well, Jonathan, you've had a very interesting life, I'm sure, but we really shouldn't have let you sit around talking so late.
My meeting Dr. Einstein in London, I might say, changed the whole course of my life. You remember, I was in South Africa, in the diamond business, and then Amsterdam, the diamond market. I wanted to go back to South Africa. Dr. Einstein made that possible for me.
Yeah, a good job, Johnny. We did so good when the nurse took the bandages off. His face was so different, the nurse had to introduce me.
I loved that face. I still carry the picture around with me.
Well, that does look more like you, but I still wouldn't know you.
I think we'll go back to that face, Doctor.
Yeah, it'd be safe now.
Well, I'm sure you've got to go wherever it is you're going.
Oh, my dear aunts, I'm so full of that delicious dinner that I'm unable to move a muscle.
Yeah, it's nice here.
Well, after all, it is getting late, and...
I found it!
What did you find, Teddy?
The story of my life, my biography. Here's the picture I was telling you about, General. Here we are, the both of us, General Garfield and President Roosevelt at Culver. That's me, General, and that's you.
My, how I've changed.
Well, you see, this picture hasn't been taken yet. We're still working at Culver. We're still digging locks. Now, General, we'll both go to Panama and extract a new lock.
Teddy, no, not Panama.
No, Panama's a long way off.
Nonsense, this is down in the cellar.
The cellar?
We let him dig the Panama Canal in the cellar.
General Garfield, as President of the United States, Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy, and the man who gave you this job, I demand that you come to me in inspection of the new lock.
Teddy! I think it's time you went to bed.
I beg your pardon? And who are you?
I'm Woodrow Wilson. Go to bed!
No, you're not Wilson. Yet your face is familiar. Let's see. You're not anyone I know now. Perhaps later. My hunting trip to Africa. Yes, you look like someone I might meet in the jungle.
No, Teddy, this is your brother Jonathan, dear.
He's had his face changed.
So that's it, a nature faker.
Teddy, dear, perhaps you had better go to bed. Jonathan and his friend need to get back to their hotel.
General Goethals,
Yeah.
inspect the canal.
Okay. Mr. President, we go to Panama.
Bully, follow me. It's down south, you know.
Well, bon voyage.
Aunt Abby, I must correct your misapprehension. You spoke of our hotel. We have no hotel. We came directly here, so...
Oh, well, there's a very nice little hotel just 3 blocks down the
Aunt Martha! This is my home.
Well, you can't stay here. We need our rooms.
You need them?
Yes, for our lodgers.
Are there lodgers in this house?
Well, not just now, but we plan to have some.
Then my old room is still free.
But there wouldn't be any room for Dr. Einstein.
He'll share the room with me.
No, Jonathan. You simply cannot stay here.
Dr. Einstein and I need a place to sleep. You remembered this afternoon that, well, as a boy, I could be disagreeable. It wouldn't be very pleasant for any of us if, well...
Just let them stay just one night?
Just one night.
That's settled. Now, if you'll get my room ready.
It just needs airing.
Oh, we keep it ready for our lodgers. I'm sure that you and Dr. Einstein will be very comfortable.
You have a most distinguished guest in Dr. Einstein. I'm afraid you don't appreciate his skill, but you will. In a few weeks, you'll see me looking a very different Jonathan.
He can't operate on you here.
After Dr. Einstein and I get organized, well, when we resume practice. Oh, I forgot to tell you. We're turning Grandfather's laboratory into an operating room.
Oh.
We expect to be quite busy.
No, Jonathan. We cannot allow you to turn this house into a hospital.
A hospital? Heavens, no! It will be a beauty parlor.
Oh, hey, Johnny,
Doctor, my dear aunts have invited us to live with them.
oh, so you fixed it.
No, just for tonight.
Please get our room ready immediately.
Well,
Just for tonight.
Johnny, guess what I find in the cellar?
What?
The Panama Canal.
The Panama Canal.
See? It just fits Mr. Spinozzo. It's a whole 6 feet long and 4 feet wide.
Down there.
Yeah, you'd think they knew that we had Mr. Spinozzo coming with us. That's hospitality.
Rather a good joke on my aunts. They're living in a house with a body buried in the cellar.
Johnny, how did we get him in?
Yes, we can't just walk him through the door. We'll drive the car up between the house and the cemetery. Then, when they've gone to bed, we'll bring Mr. Spinozzo in through the window.
Dad, we got a bed tonight, Johnny.
Easy, Doctor. Remember, you're operating tomorrow, and this time you'd better be sober.
Yeah, I think you're beautiful.
And if you don't,
Oh, Jonathan, your room is ready, dear.
well, then you two can run along. We're moving the car up behind the house.
oh, but it's all right where it is until morning.
I don't want to leave it in the street. That might be against the law.
What are we going to do?
Well, for one thing, we're not going to let them stay here more than one night. And we're not going to let them turn this house into a hospital. And, I mean, what would the neighbors think? People coming in with one face and going out with another.
What are we going to do about Mr. Hoskins?
Poor Mr. Hoskins. He has been so patient. And it can't be very comfortable in there for him. No, I think Daddy better get him down to the cellar right away.
But Abby, I am not inviting Jonathan to the services.
No, we'll get them to go up to bed right away. And then we'll hold our services. Now. Oh. Teddy dear.
General Garfield is very pleased with the canal. Says the lock was just the right size.
Well, we have some good news for you. There's another yellow fever victim.
Dear me, this will be a shock to the General.
Oh, we best not tell him then.
But it's his department.
Oh no, it must be a secret.
Yes.
It'll ruin his visit otherwise.
Sorry, Aunt Abby, he'll have to be told. It's out of my hands.
No! It must be a secret.
A state secret?
Yes, a state secret.
Promise.
You have the word of the President of the United States. Cross my heart and hope to die. Now, how are we going to keep it a secret?
Well, Teddy, when I turn out the lights, you go down to the cellar before, I'll turn it out, then it'll be all dark. Right when it's all dark, You come up from the cellar and you take the poor man down to the canal. Hurry along.
And we'll come down later to hold services.
You may announce that the president will say a few words. Now, where's the poor devil?
Oh, he's in the window seat.
Seems to be spreading. We've never had yellow fever there before.
You know, dear, we really must get Jonathan and Dr. Einstein to bed as quickly as possible.
Yes, and by the time they're asleep, we'll be dressed for the services.
Oh, yes.
Abby, I've never seen Mr. Hoskins.
Well, you just come over here and look. He's really quite handsome for a Methodist.
We're bringing the luggage through here.
Well, Jonathan, your room is ready. You can go right up to bed.
I'm afraid we don't keep Brookman hours, but you two can run along to bed.
No, we don't go to bed this early. You must be very tired.
Well, you should. It's time I came home to take care of you.
But we plan to go up later.
And Martha, did you hear me say go to bed?
Oh.
The instruments can go to the laboratory in the morning. Now then, we are all going to bed.
Well, I'll just stay down here and turn off the lights after you've gone.
A little further, Doctor. Run along, Aunt Martha. All right, Aunt Abby.
I'll be right up.
Now, Aunt Abby, turn out the lights.
Oh, dear.
I'll get the window open. You go around and hand him through.
But Johnny, he's too heavy for me. Why don't you push him through? I'll pull on this side, and together we get him down to Panama.
All right. I'll take a look around outside the house. When I tap on the glass, you open the window.
All right, Johnny. Oh, that wasn't bright. Now I can't see. Johnny? Who left this open? Johnny? Easy, Johnny.
Take it. Just take him.
Ow! He's coming! He's coming! He's coming! He's coming!
Be more careful.
No! No! Ah!
I found a shoe. Oh. Johnny, snap, snap. Fast, Johnny. Oi. Nein.
Miss Abby? Miss Martha? Who's there? Is that you, Teddy? Who are you?
Who are you?
I'm Elaine Harper. I live next door.
Then what are you doing here?
I came over to see Miss Abby and Miss Martha.
Turn on the lights, Doctor. You chose rather an untimely moment for a social call.
I think you'd better explain what you are doing here.
We happen to live here.
You don't live here. I'm in this house every day and I've never seen you. Where are Miss Abby and Miss Martha? What have you done with them?
Perhaps it's time we introduced ourselves. This is Dr. Einstein,
Dr. Einstein.
a surgeon of great distinction, and something of a magician.
And I suppose you're going to tell me that you're Boris Karloff?
I'm Jonathan Brewster.
You're Jonathan.
I see you've heard of me.
Yes, just this afternoon for the first time, actually.
And what did they say about me?
Just that there was another brother named Jonathan. Well, that explains everything. Now that I know who you are, just be running along home. If you'll kindly unlock the door.
That explains everything. Just what did you mean by that? Why did you come here at this time of night?
I thought I saw someone prowling around the house, but...
You thought you saw someone prowling around the house?
Yes, weren't you just outside? Isn't that your car?
You saw someone at the car?
Yes.
What else did you see?
Just someone walking around the house to the car.
What else did you see?
Just that's all, really. I was gonna come over and tell Miss Abby to call the police, but if it's your car, then there's really no reason to bother Miss Abby, and I'm just gonna go home now.
What was the man doing at the car?
I don't know. You see, I was on my way over here, and
I think you're lying.
Johnny, I think she's telling the truth. We let her go, eh?
I think she's lying. Breaking into a house at this time of night? I think she's dangerous. She shouldn't be allowed around loose.
No, hey, get your hands off of me!
Doctor, just grab it.
Stop! Somebody help me!
Oh,
It's going to be a private funeral.
Teddy, tell these men who I am.
That's my daughter, Alice.
No. Teddy!
George!
Teddy, no! Teddy!
Doctor, your handkerchief!
Help me!
The cellar!
Will Elaine and when we last saw Elaine, she was being forced into the cellar at the hands of Dr. Einstein and the evil Jonathan Brewster. Let's go back now and see how this came to be.
Your hands off of me!
Doctor! Stop!
It's going to be a private funeral.
Teddy, tell these men who I am.
That's my daughter, Alice. George!
Teddy, no! Teddy!
Doctor, your handkerchief! Doc, no, stop! The cellar!
What's going on down here? What's happening? What are you doing? What's happening here?
We caught a burglar, a sneak thief. Go back to your room.
Oh, we'll call the police.
We've called the police. We'll handle this. Go back to your room. Do you hear me?
Oh, Mortimer, where have you been?
Mortimer, where have you been?
To the Nora Base Theater. I should have known better. My God, I'm still there.
This is your brother Jonathan and his friend Dr. Einstein.
I know this isn't a nightmare, but what is this?
I've come back home, Mortimer.
Who did you say this was?
It's your brother, Jonathan. He's had his face changed. Dr. Einstein did the surgery.
Jonathan. Jonathan! You always were a horror, but you had to look like one?
Oh, my God. Mortimer, Have you forgotten the things I used to do to you when we were boys? Remember the time you were tied to the bedpost? The needles under your fingernails?
Yes, I remember. I remember you as the most vile, degenerative, vicious form of animal life I ever knew.
Now, boys, don't you start arguing the moment you see each other.
Won't be any fight, Aunt Abby. Jonathan, you're not welcome here. Get out.
Dr. Einstein and I have been invited to stay.
Not in this house.
Just for tonight.
I don't want him anywhere near me.
We gave our word, and it is only for tonight. It would be wrong to go back on it.
All right, for tonight. Where's he staying?
Jonathan's old room.
That's my old room. I'm sleeping up there, and I'm here to stay.
Oh, Mortimer, I'm so glad.
Johnny, why don't we sleep down here tonight?
Why?
Well, you sleep in a chair, and I'll sleep on the window seat.
The window seat. Well, let's not argue about it. The window seat's good enough for me. I'll sleep there tonight.
Well, all this argument, it makes me think of Mr. Spinalzo.
Spinalzo, well, now, Mortimer, it really isn't necessary to inconvenience you like this. We'll sleep down here.
Jonathan, your sudden consideration for me is very unconvincing.
Johnny, why don't we get the things out of our room and we'll switch over from there?
Don't bother, Doctor.
By the way, Doctor, I've completely lost track of Mr. Spinalzo.
Who is this Mr. Spinalzo?
He's just a friend that Johnny's been looking for.
Well, don't bring anybody else in here.
Johnny, I'll tell you all about it when we go upstairs. Come on.
Mortimer, dear, you don't have to sleep down here. I'll go in with Aunt Martha, and you can sleep in my room.
No trouble at all, Aunt Abby. We'll be packed in a few minutes, and then you can have the room, Mortimer.
You're just wasting your time. I told you, I'm sleeping down here.
Mortimer,
Oh, Elaine, what's wrong?
I've almost been killed.
You've almost been... Abby! Martha!
No!
It was Jonathan.
He thought she was a sneak thief.
No, it was more than that. He's some kind of a maniac, Mortimer. I'm afraid of him.
My darling, you're trembling. Have you got any smelling salts?
No, but do you think some hot tea or coffee?
Coffee, and make some for me too. And some sandwiches. I haven't had any dinner yet.
We'll make some for both of us.
I think we can leave our hats down here now, dear.
Were you going somewhere? Do you know what time it is? It's after 12. 12! Elaine, you've got to go home.
What?
You just asked us to make you sandwiches.
It won't take but a minute. But don't you remember? We want to celebrate your engagement. That's what we'll do. We'll make a nice supper for both of you. And I'll open a bottle of wine.
All right. No wine!
Mortimer, what is going on in this house?
What do you mean, what's going on in this house?
You were supposed to take me to dinner in the theater and then you called it off. You proposed to me, I said yes, and then 5 minutes later you threw me out of the house. And then tonight after your brother tries to kill me, you want to chase me home? I deserve to know where I stand, Mr. Brewster. Do you love me?
Elaine, I love you very much. I love you so much, in fact, I can't marry you.
Have you gone crazy?
No, but it's only a matter of time. See, insanity runs in the Brewster family. It practically gallops. That's why I can't marry you, dear.
You're going to have to do better than that.
No, dear, there's definitely a strange taint in the Brewster blood. If you really knew my family, it'd be as if Strindberg had written Hell's a Poppin'.
Just because Teddy is a little bit strange.
Oh, it goes way back. The first Brewster, the one who came over on the Mayflower. You know how back then Indians used to scalp the settlers? He used to scalp the Indians.
Mortimer, that's ancient history.
Oh, take my grandfather, for example. He tried his patent medicines out on dead people to be sure he wouldn't kill them.
He wasn't so crazy. He made $1 million.
And then there's Jonathan. You know Jonathan. He tried to kill you, and you said he was a maniac.
But he's not you, Mortimer, and I'm in love with you.
Oh, and then there's Teddy. And you know Teddy thinks he's Roosevelt. No, dear, no Brewster should ever marry. I realize now that if I had met my father in time, I'd have stopped him.
Mortimer, this doesn't prove that you're crazy. Take your aunts, for example. They're Brewsters, aren't they? They're the sanest, sweetest people I've ever met.
Well, even they have their peculiarities.
Yes, but what lovely peculiarities. Kindness, generosity, human sympathy.
There's another one!
Mortimer, there are plenty of others. You can't tell me a thing about your aunts.
No, dear, and I won't. Look, something's come up, and I need you to go home.
Up from where? We're here alone together.
I know I'm acting irrationally, but just put it down to the fact that I'm a Mad Brewster.
If you think you're gonna get out of marrying me by pretending that you're insane, you're crazy! You may not think you're gonna marry me, but I'm gonna marry you. I love you, you big dope.
Well, Elaine, if you love me, will you get the hell out of here?
Oh, will you at least walk me home? I'm scared.
Scared of a little walk through the cemetery?
Can I have a kiss goodnight?
Of course, dear. Good night, dear. I'll call you up tomorrow.
You critic!
Aunt Tabby and Martha, come in here.
We'll be in a minute, dear.
Come in here now.
Yes, dear. What is it?
I thought you promised me you wouldn't let anyone in the house while I was gone.
Well, Jonathan just
I
walked
don't
in.
mean Jonathan.
Well, Dr. Einstein was
I
with
don't
him.
mean Dr. Einstein either. Who's that in the window seat?
I told you, dear. Mr. Hoskins.
That is not Mr. Hoskins.
Who can that be?
Are you trying to tell me you've never seen this man before?
I certainly am. This is a fine how do you do. It's getting so anybody seems to think they can just walk in here anytime they want.
Oh, Aunt Tabby, don't you try to get out of this. That's another one of your gentlemen.
Certainly is not. That man is an imposter. And if he thinks he's going to be buried in our cellar, he's mistaken.
You admitted to me that you put Mr. Hoskins in the window seat.
Oh, yes, I did.
Well, he couldn't have gotten the idea from him. By the way, where is Mr. Hoskins?
Oh, he's gone to Panama.
You buried him already?
Oh, no, he's down there waiting for services. With Jonathan here, we just haven't had a minute to ourselves. Oh, we've always wanted to hold a double ceremony. No, I will not read services over a total stranger.
Oh, Aunt Tabby, you admitted that you poisoned 12 men and that they're buried in our cellar.
I certainly did. But you don't think I would stoop to telling a fib?
Oh, Mortimer. I'd like to have a word with you.
Word's about all you'll have time for, Jonathan, because I've decided that you and your doctor friend are going to have to leave this house just as soon as possible.
I'm glad you recognize the fact that you and I can't live under the same roof together, but you've arrived at the wrong conclusion. Take your suitcase and get out.
Jonathan, you're beginning to bore me. You've played your one-night stand in Brooklyn. Move on.
My dear Mortimer, just because you've graduated from the back fence to the typewriter, don't think you've grown up. I'm staying and you're leaving, and I mean now.
If you think I can be frightened, if you think there's anything I'm afraid of...
I've lived a strange life, Mortimer, but it's taught me one thing, to be afraid of nothing.
Martha, you just come and look what's in that window seat.
Aunt Abby!
Jonathan, let Aunt Martha see what's in the window seat. Aunt Tabby, I owe you an apology. Jonathan and Dr. Einstein are leaving.
Oh.
They're taking their cold companion with them and heading out now. Jonathan, you're my brother. You're a Brewster. I'm giving you a chance to take the evidence with you and get away. It's more than you could ask for. Very well. That's how it's going to be. I'm going to call the police.
Don't reach for that telephone! Are you still giving me orders after seeing what's happened to Mr. Spinalzo?
Spinalzo?
Knew he was a foreigner.
Remember, what happened to Mr. Spinalzo can happen to you, too.
Oh, I'll get it there. Wonder who this can be.
Hello, Miss Abby.
Officer O'Hara. What can we do for you?
I saw your lights on and thought there might be sickness in the house. Oh, you got company. I'm sorry to disturb you.
Oh, no, come in.
Yes, do come in.
Do come in, Officer O'Hara. This is our nephew, Mortimer.
Oh, pleased to meet you.
And this is another nephew, Jonathan.
Pleased to make your acquaintance. Well, it must be nice having your nephews visiting you. Are they going to stay with you for a bit?
Oh, I'm staying. Jonathan is just leaving.
Well, I've met you here before, haven't I?
No, he's been away a long, long time.
Your face looks familiar to me. Maybe I've seen a picture of you somewhere.
I don't think so. Go.
Well, that's right, Jonathan. I'd hurry up if I were you. Your things are all packed anyway, aren't they?
Well, you'll be wanting to say your goodbyes. I'll be running along.
Oh, what's the rush? I'd like to have you stick around till my brother leaves. We're gonna have some coffee.
Oh, the coffees! I just forgot. I forgot the coffees.
And I'll have to make more sandwiches. I ought to know your appetite by now, Officer O'Hara.
Don't bother. I'm due to ring in a few minutes.
You can have a cup of coffee with us. Well, just wait around till Jonathan leaves. Just sit down.
Say, ain't I seen a photograph of your brother around here someplace?
I don't think so.
He certainly reminds me of somebody.
He probably looks like somebody you've seen in the movies.
I never go to the movies. I hate them. My mother says the movies is a bastard art.
Yes, it's full of them. Your mother said that?
Yeah, she was an actress, a stage actress. Perhaps you heard of her, Peaches Latour.
That sounds like a name I've seen in a program. What did she play?
Well, her big hit was Mutt and Jeff. She played it for 3 years. I was born on tour the 3rd season.
You were?
Yep, Sioux City, Iowa. I was born in the dressing room at the end of the 2nd act, and Mother made the finale.
What a trooper. I bet there's a good story in your mother or two. You know, I write for the theater.
You do? Say, you're not Mortimer Brewster, the dramatic critic.
Yes.
Well, I certainly am glad to meet you. Say, Mr. Brewster, we're in the same line of business.
We are?
Yeah, I'm a playwright. Oh, this being on the police force is just temporary.
How long have you been on the force?
12 years. I'm collecting material for a play.
Oh, I bet it's a honey.
Well, it ought to be. With all the drama I see being a cop. Mr. Brewster, you got no idea what goes on in Brooklyn.
I think I do.
Say, what time you got?
10 after 1.
Gee, I gotta ring it.
No, wait a minute, O'Hara. On that play of yours, I may be able to help you with it.
You would?
Yes.
Say, it was fate my walking in here tonight. Look, I'll tell you the plot.
Oh, you're leaving, eh? Good. You haven't much time left, you know.
Well, everything's just about ready. Oh, you're leaving, Jonathan? Goodbye. Goodbye, Dr. Einstein. Oh, don't these things belong to you?
Oh, yes, Jonathan. You can't leave without all of your things. Well, O'Hara, it was nice bumping into you. We'll meet together later and talk about...
I'm not leaving now, Mr. Brewster.
Oh, why not?
You just offered to help me with my play, didn't you? You and me are gonna write my play together.
I can't do that, O'Hara. I'm not a creative writer.
I'll do the creating and you just put the words to it.
But O'Hara, I don't know anything
Oh, no,
about...
sir, Mr. Brewster. I ain't leaving this house till I tell you the plot.
In that case, Mortimer, we'll be running along.
Don't try that. You can't do that. You have to take everything with you. Well, O'Hara, why don't you go ring in and we'll talk about your play at another time.
I can wait. I've been waiting for 12 years.
Oh, I'm sorry I took so long.
Don't bring those in here. Say, O'Hara, would you like to join us for a bite in the kitchen?
The kitchen?
Well, Jonathan's leaving.
Oh. How nice. Come this way, Officer O'Hara.
Are you sure you don't mind eating in the kitchen?
And where else does one eat?
Goodbye, Jonathan. Goodbye, Dr. Einstein.
Well, Jonathan, I'm glad you came back to Brooklyn, because it gives me a chance to throw you out. And the first one to go is your boyfriend, Mr. Spinalzo.
Oh, look, Mr. Brewster, we can talk in here.
I'll be in just a minute.
All right. I might have known you'd grow up to write a play with a policeman.
Get going now, all three of you.
Doctor, this affair between my brother and me has got to be settled.
Johnny, we got trouble enough. Your brother gives us a chance to get away. What more could you ask?
You don't understand. This goes back a good many years.
Johnny, let's get going, eh?
We're not going! We're going to sleep right here tonight.
Johnny, with a cop in the kitchen and Mr. Spinalzo in the window seat?
That's all he's got on us. We'll take Mr. Spinalzo down and dump him in the bay and come right back here. Then, if he tries to interfere...
Johnny.
Doctor, you know when I make up my mind.
Yeah, when you make up your mind, you lose your head. Brooklyn ain't a good place for you.
Doctor?
Yeah, we gotta stick together. But you know what? Someday we're gonna get stuck together. You know, if we're coming back, do I need to bring all these things?
No, leave them here. Hide them in the cellar. Move fast!
Yeah.
Mr. Spinalzo can go out the same way he came in.
Hey, Johnny.
What's the
you know
matter?
a hole in the cellar?
Yes?
We got an ace in the hole. Come here, I'll show you.
Jonathan! Jonathan! Jonathan!
Yes, Mortimer.
Where have you been? I told you to get out of here.
We're not going.
Oh, you don't think I'm serious about this, huh? You want Officer O'Hara to know what's in the window seat?
We're staying here.
Very well. This gives me a chance to get rid of both you and O'Hara at the same time. Officer O'Hara, come in here.
If you tell O'Hara what's in the window seat, I'll tell him what's down in the cellar.
The cellar?
There's an elderly gentleman down there who seems to be very dead.
What were you two doing down in the cellar?
What's he doing down in the cellar?
No thanks, ma'am. They were fine. I've got plenty.
Now what you going to say to O'Hara?
Say, Mr. Brewster, your aunts want to hear it too. Shall I get them in here?
No, O'Hara, you've got to go ring in.
Oh, the hell with ringing in. I'll get them in here and I'm going to tell you the plot.
No, not in front of all these people. Tell you what, why don't we meet together somewhere more private and we'll talk about your play?
How about the back room at Kelly's?
Sure. I'll go meet you at Kelly. You go ring in and I'll meet you at Kelly's.
Why don't you two go down in the cellar?
Oh, that's all right with me. Is this the cellar?
No. You go ring in and I'll meet you over at Kelly's.
All right, that'll only take a couple of minutes.
I'll ditch this guy and be back in 5 minutes. When I do, expect to find you gone. Wait for me.
Oh, we'll wait for him, Doctor. I've waited a great many years for a chance like this.
Yeah, Johnny, you got him right where you want him. Did he look guilty?
Take the bags back up to our room, Doctor.
Have they gone yet? Oh! We thought we heard someone leave.
Just Mortimer, and he'll be back in a few minutes. Is there any food left in the kitchen? I think Dr. Einstein and I would enjoy a bite.
But you won't have time.
Oh no, you'll be out of here before Mortimer gets back or he won't like it.
Oh, he likes it. He's gotta like it.
Get something for us to eat while we bury Mr. Spinalzo in the cellar.
Oh, you can't bury Mr. Spinalzo in our cellar. You've got to take him with you.
There's a friend of Mortimer's downstairs waiting for him.
A friend of Mortimer's?
He and Mr. Spinalzo should get along fine together. They're both dead.
You must mean Mr. Hoskins.
Mr. Hoskins?
You know about what's downstairs?
Of course we do. They're our gentlemen. And it's way too crowded for you to put anyone else down there.
Crowded with what?
Well, there are 12 graves down there.
12 graves?
Yes, they're our gentlemen.
Your gentlemen?
And we don't bury strangers in our cellar.
Oh, no, we have no room for strangers.
You mean you and Aunt Martha have murdered 12 people?
Murdered? Certainly not. It's one of our charities.
What we do is a mercy.
You've done that here, in this house, and you've buried them down there.
Yeah.
You know, Johnny, we've been chased all over the world. Your aunts stay here in Brooklyn, and they do as good as you do.
What?
You've got 12. They've got 12.
I've got 13.
Yeah.
There's Mr. Spinalzo, then the first one in London, 2 in Johannesburg, 1 in Sydney, 1 in Melbourne, 2 in San Francisco, 1 in Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix?
The filling station. 3 in Chicago and 1 in South Bend. That makes 13.
Johnny, you can't count the one in South Bend. He died of pneumonia.
He wouldn't have got pneumonia if I hadn't shot him.
Johnny, it's still 12.
He counts with me, I say 13.
No, Johnny. 12. You've got 12. They've got 12. The old ladies are just as good as you are.
Oh, they are they? Well, that's easily taken care of. All I need is 1 more. That's all, just 1 more.
Well, here I am.
You stop what you're doing!
This is our house and our cellar, and you can't do that.
Yeah, Davy, please go back upstairs where you belong.
Abby, Martha, go upstairs.
What you're doing will just have to be undone!
I tell you, you have to stop that right now.
You'll see! You'll see whose house this is!
I'm warning you. You just stop that right now. Has Mortimer come back yet?
No!
What a terrible thing to do. Bury a good Methodist with a stranger.
I will not have our cellar desecrated!
Oh, no. Where can Mortimer have gone?
I don't know, but he must be doing something. Before he left, he said to Jonathan, "Just you wait, I'll settle this."
Well, he can't very well settle it if he's not here to settle it. And that's what we want settled. What's going on down there?
All right, now.
Mortimer, where have you been?
I've been over to Dr. Gilchrist. I have the signature on Teddy's commitment papers.
Mortimer, what is the matter with you?
Running around at a time like this with getting papers signed.
Do you know what Jonathan is doing?
He's burying Mr. Spinalzo with Mr. Hoskins.
Oh, he is? Well, let him. Where's Teddy? Is he up in his room?
Teddy won't be any help.
When he signs these commitment papers, I can tackle Jonathan.
Well, what have they got to do with it?
I had to tell Jonathan about the 12 gentlemen in the basement. If I can make Teddy responsible for those, I can protect you. But don't you see?
No, I don't see. We pay our taxes. We have the police to protect us.
I've got to go see Teddy.
Come along, Martha. We're going to go to the police.
All right. No! You can't go to the police.
And why not?
Because if you go to the police, they're going to find Mr. Spinalzo. And they'll find Mr. Hoskins, too. And that might make them curious, and then they'll start digging around and find the other 12 gentlemen.
Mortimer, we know the police better than you do. And if we ask them not to pry into our private affairs, I'm sure they wouldn't.
You can't rely on that. They'd have to make a report.
Oh, I don't think they'd want to do that. It would have to be a very long report. And if there's one thing a policeman doesn't like to do, it's write reports.
But it could leak out, and you couldn't expect a judge or jury to understand.
Judge Coleman would.
Oh, yes, we know him very well.
Why, he comes to church often to pray before elections.
Oh, yes. And he's promised to come here for tea. Well, someday.
We must speak to him about that again sometime, Abby. His wife died a few years ago, and it's left him very lonely.
Oh.
Come along.
You can't do that. You can't go for the police, and you can't have Judge Coleman over for tea.
Well, if you're not going to do something about Mr. Spinalzo, we are.
I am going to do something. We may have to call the police in later, but when we do, I want to be ready for them.
You've got to get Jonathan out of this house.
And Mr. Spinalzo.
Will you let me do this my own way? I've got to talk to Teddy.
Mortimer, if they're not out of this house by morning, we are going to call the police.
They'll be out. I promise you that. Go to bed with you, and for God's sakes, change out of those clothes. You look like Joan Crawford.
Well, that's a relief, isn't it?
Well, Mortimer's actually going to do something about it. Well, then, Jonathan's going to a lot of unnecessary work, and we better tell him. Oh, Jonathan, you can just stop doing what you're doing.
It's all done. Did I just hear Mortimer?
Well, it's going to have to be undone. You're going to be out of the house before morning. Mortimer promised.
Oh, are we? Well, in that case, you and Aunt Martha can go to bed and have a pleasant night's sleep.
Yes, Abby, let's go.
Good night, aunties.
Not good night. Goodbye. Or you're going to be out of this house before we get up in the morning. Mortimer promised.
And he has a way of doing it, too.
Then Mortimer is back.
Oh, yes, he's up talking to Teddy.
Goodbye, Jonathan.
Goodbye, Jonathan.
Perhaps you'd better say goodbye to Mortimer.
Oh, you'll see Mortimer.
Yes, I'll see Mortimer.
Here. Johnny, all fixed up. Smooth as a lake. Nobody know there was anybody down there. Oh, bed. That bed feels good already. 48 hours we didn't sleep. Oh, let's get going, eh?
You're forgetting, Doctor.
What?
My brother, Mortimer.
Oh, Johnny, not tonight. We do him tomorrow night or sometime later next week.
No, tonight! Now!
Johnny, tonight, I have to operate tomorrow.
Yes, you're operating tomorrow, Doctor, but tonight we take care of Mortimer.
Johnny, not tonight.
Doctor, look at me. You can see it's going to be done, can't you?
I know that look, Johnny.
It's a little too late for us to dissolve our partnership.
Yeah, but Johnny, for me, a favor, we do it the quick way, the quick twist like in London.
No, Doctor. I think this calls for something special. I think perhaps the Melbourne method.
No, Johnny, not Melbourne. 2 hours. And when it's all over, the fellow in London is just as dead as the fellow in Melbourne.
We had to work too fast in London. There was no aesthetic satisfaction in it. But Melbourne, there was something to remember.
Remember, I wish I didn't. Johnny, not Melbourne, not me.
Oh yes, Doctor. Where are the instruments?
I won't tell you.
Get your instruments.
No, Johnny.
Where are they? Oh yes! You hid them in the cellar! Where?
I won't tell you.
I'll find them, Doctor.
Don't do that, Mr. President.
But I cannot sign any proclamations without consulting the cabinet.
It must be a secret.
A secret proclamation? How unusual.
Japan mustn't know until it's signed.
Japan knows yellow devils, I'll sign it right away. You have my word for it. The cabinet can know later.
All right, let's go and sign it now.
You wait here. A secret proclamation has to be signed in secret.
But at once, Mr. President.
I'll have to put in my signing to those.
You go now, eh?
No, Doctor. I'm waiting for something important.
No, you go. Get quick.
Dr. Einstein, you seem like a nice fellow. I don't have anything against you personally, but take my advice and get as far away from this house as possible.
Oh, there's gonna be trouble. Get away quick.
All right. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Johnny is in a bad mood. When he's in a mood like this, he becomes a madman. Terrible things are gonna happen. Terrible things.
Jonathan doesn't worry me now.
Ah, Himmel. Don't those plays that you see teach you anything?
About what?
At least the people in those plays, they act like they got some sense. That's more than you big fellas, huh?
You think people in plays act intelligently? I wish you had to sit through some of the ones I've had to sit through. Take, for example, the little opus I saw tonight. In this play, there's a man, and he's supposed to be smart. He's in a house full of murderers. He knows he's in danger, and he ought to leave. He's even been told to leave, but he doesn't. Now I ask you, Doctor, is that something an intelligent person would do?
You're asking me?
He doesn't even have enough sense to be on guard or to know he's in danger. For instance, the killer asks him to sit down.
No. You mean like, no? Won't you sit down?
Believe it or not, that one was in there.
No. What's he do?
He sits down. Now, mind you, this fella's supposed to be bright. So there he sits, just waiting to get trussed up. What do you think they used to tie him up with?
What?
The curtain cord.
The curtain cord. Well, good choice, because it's very convenient.
It's a little too convenient. I mean, when are playwrights going to use a little imagination? The curtain cord.
And he didn't see him getting it?
No, he just sat there with his back to him the whole time. That's the kind of stuff we have to suffer through night after night. Oh, they say playwrights or critics are killing the theaters. It's the playwrights who are killing the theater. And well, there he sits, the big dope. Now this fellow's supposed to be bright, just waiting to get trussed up and gagged. Hey, Scott!
You're right about that, big fella. He wasn't very bright.
Now, Mortimer, if you don't mind, we'll finish the story. Mortimer, I've been away for 20 years, but never once in all that time, my dear brother, were you out of my mind. In Melbourne one night, I dreamed of you. When I landed in San Francisco, I felt a strange satisfaction. Once more, I was in the same country with you. Now, Doctor, we go to work.
Johnny, we do it the quick way, eh?
No, Doctor. I really think this must be an artistic achievement. After all, we're performing before a very distinguished critic.
Oh, Johnny, I gotta have a drink. I can't do this without a drink.
Pull yourself together, Doctor!
But, Johnny, wait. When we first got here, those nice little old ladies, they had wine here. Where did they put it? Remember? Over here? Yeah, Johnny, he's right. Tell you what, I'll pour one for me and one for you. There's not a lot here. I split it with you. We both have a drink.
One moment, Doctor, please. Where are your manners? Yes, Mortimer. I realize now that it was you who brought me back to Brooklyn. Doctor, to my dear dead brother. Damn that idiot! He goes next, that's all, he goes next!
No, Johnny, not Teddy. That's where I stop.
We get to Teddy later!
We don't get to Teddy at all.
Oh, now we've got to work fast, God!
Yes, Johnny, the quick way.
Yes, Doctor, the quick way!
Hey! The Colonel's
Gotta quit blowing that horn.
It's all right, officer. We're taking the bugle away from him.
There's going to be hell to pay in the morning. We promised the neighbors he wouldn't do that anymore.
It won't happen again, officer. Good night.
I better speak to him myself. Where are the lights? Hey, you stood me up. I waited an hour at Kelly's for you. Oh, what happened to him?
Well, he was explaining what happened in the play tonight. That's what happened to the guy in the play.
Did they have that in the play you saw tonight?
Oh.
Gee, they practically stole that from the second act of my play. Why, in my second act, just before the... I'd better begin at the beginning. It opens in my mother's dressing room where I was born, only I ain't born yet. Huh? Oh, yeah. No, you gotta hear the plot. Well, she's sitting there making up sheet when all of a sudden, a man with a black mustache comes through the door, turns to my mother and says, Miss Latour, will you marry me? He doesn't know she's pregnant. Well, there she is, lying unconscious across the table in her lingerie. The chink is standing over her with a hatchet, and I'm tied up in a chair just like you are. See, when all of a sudden the place is an inferno of flames, it's on fire. And then, through the window, in comes Mayor LaGuardia. Hey, remember who paid for that? Go easy on it.
No, at least I'm listening, and
Well, how do you like it so far?
Well, it put Johnny to sleep.
Well, let him alone. If he got no more interest in that, he don't get a drink. All right, it's 3 days later. I've been transferred and I'm under charges. That's because somebody stole my badge. All right, I'm walking my beat on Staten Island, 46th precinct, when a guy I'm following is really, turns out, is following me. Don't let anybody in. So I figures I'll outsmart him. There's a vacant house on the corner. I goes in. I stands there in the dark.
Johnny!
And I sees the door handle turn. So I pulls my gun, I braces myself against the wall, and I says, come in. Oh, hey guys.
What the hell is going on here?
What do you know, Pat? This is Mortimer Brewster. He's gonna write my play with me. I was just telling him the story.
Did you have to tie him up to make him listen?
Joe, you better report in at the station. I'll force out looking for you.
Did they send you guys here for me?
We didn't know you was here.
We came to warn the old ladies that there's hell to pay. The colonel blew that bugle again in the middle of the night.
The way the neighbors have been calling in. I think the Germans have dropped a bomb on Flatbush Avenue.
The lieutenant's on the warpath. He says the colonel's got to be put away someplace.
Yes. Say, Mr. Brewster, I gotta get away quick, so I'll just run through that third act real quick.
Get away from me.
Say, you know what time it is? It's after 8 o'clock in the morning.
It is? Oh, Mr. Brewster, them first two acts run a little long, but I don't see anything we can leave out.
You can leave it all out.
Who the hell is this?
That's my brother.
The one that ran away? So, he came back.
Yes, he came back.
This is Brophy. Give me Mac. I better let them know we found you, Joe. Mac, hey, tell the lieutenant to call off the big manhunt. We got him. In the Brewster's house. Do you want us to bring him in? Okay, we'll hold him here. The lieutenant's on his way over.
So, I've been turned in, have I? All right, you've got me. And I suppose you and that stool pigeon brother of mine will split the reward.
Reward?
Now it's my turn to do some turning in. I bet you think those aunts of mine are sweet, charming old ladies without 13 bodies buried in the cellar.
Teddy!
What the hell are you talking about?
You better be careful what you say about your aunts. They're friends of ours.
I'll show you. I'll prove it to you. You come with me to the cellar.
Wait a minute.
13 bodies, and I'll show you where they're buried.
Oh, yeah?
You don't want to see what's down in the cellar?
Why don't you go down in the cellar with a maid?
I'm not so sure I want to be down in the cellar with him. Look at that puss. He looks like Boris Karloff.
You don't!
What do you know about that?
Come in.
What the hell are you men doing here? I told you to handle this myself.
Well, sir, he was just
Did he
about
put up a fight?
This ain't the guy that blows the bugle. This is his brother. He just tried to kill Clyde.
All I said was he looked like Boris Karloff.
Oh, really? Turn him over.
We kind of think he's wanted someplace.
Oh, you kind of think he's what? You know, if you guys can't read the bulletins we put up down at the station, the least you could do is read True Detective. Of course he's wanted somewhere. In Indiana. He's escaped from an asylum for the criminally insane. He's a lifer. And for God's sake, he was described as looking like Karloff.
Was that a reward mentioned?
Yeah, and I'm claiming it.
He was trying to get us down in the cellar.
He said there were 13 bodies buried down there.
Didn't that tip you off that he might have been from a nut house?
All along, you talk kind of crazy.
Oh, it's Shakespeare. And where have you been all night? No, don't bother telling me.
Well, I've been here all night. I'm writing a play with Mortimer Brewster.
You're going to have plenty of time to write that play because you're suspended.
Oh,
Now get back and check in.
well, could I come down to the station sometime and use the typewriter?
No, get out of here. Take that guy somewhere else and bring him to. See what you can find out about his accomplice. The guy that helped him escape, he's wanted too. No wonder Brooklyn's in the condition it's in with flatheads for police officers like you. Going for that cockeyed 13 bodies in the cellar.
But there are 13 bodies in the cellar.
Who are you?
I'm President Roosevelt.
What the hell is this?
He's the guy that blows the bugle.
Good morning, Colonel.
You've blown your last bugle, Colonel.
Dear me, another yellow fever victim.
What?
All the bodies in the cellar are yellow fever victims.
No, Colonel, this is a spy we caught in the White House.
Would you get that guy out of here?
If there's any questioning of spies to do, that's my department.
You keep out of this.
You're forgetting, as President of the United States, I'm also head of the Secret Service.
Captain, I'm Mortimer Brewster.
Are you sure?
I'd like to talk to you about my brother Teddy, the one who blew the bugle.
We ain't talking about that, Mr. Brewster. He's got to be put away.
Well, I quite agree with you. In fact, it's already been arranged for. I have here his commitment papers. They've been signed by Dr. Gilchrist, our family physician. Teddy has signed them himself, you see, and I have signed his next of kin.
Where's he going?
Happydale.
I don't care where he goes as long as he goes.
Now, I would like to explain to you that everything that's happened around here, Teddy is responsible for. Now, those 13 bodies in the cellar are...
Oh, yeah, 13 bodies in cellar. You know, it ain't bad enough that the neighbors are all afraid of him. And he runs around disturbing the peace, blowing that bugle of his. But can you imagine what would happen if that cockeyed story about 13 bodies in the cellar got out? And now he's trying to start a yellow fever scare. Cute, ain't it?
Yeah, 13 bodies, who'd believe that?
Well, you never can tell. You know, some people are just dumb enough, and you're never quite sure what to believe. Well, last year, some lunatic in Greenpoint started a murder rumor. I had to dig up practically a half an acre just to prove it.
Will you excuse me?
Good morning, Mortimer.
Good morning, dear.
This is Mr. Witherspoon. He's come to meet Teddy.
To meet Teddy?
Mr. Witherspoon is the superintendent of Happydale.
Oh, come in. This is Captain Rooney.
Lieutenant Rooney. I'm glad you're here, Super, because you're taking him with you today.
Today?
Not today.
I didn't think.
No.
Look, Elaine, we've got some important business to attend to, so you run along home and I'll call you up.
Nuts!
I didn't think it was going to be this immediate.
Papers are all signed. He's going with you today.
Complete insubordination. You men will find out I am no mollycoddle. The President of the United States is treated like this. What is this country coming to?
There's your man, Super.
Wait just a minute. Mr. President, I have very good news for you. Your term of office is over.
Is it March the 4th?
Practically.
Oh, it's time for my hunting trip to Africa. Well, I must get started immediately. Is he trying to move into the White House before I moved out?
Who, Teddy?
Taft!
Oh, that's not Mr. Taft, Teddy. That's Mr. Witherspoon. He's to be your hunting guide in Africa.
Bully. When this fire comes, tell them wait. I'll bring down the equipment. Goodbye, Aunt Abby. Goodbye, Aunt Martha. I'm off to Africa. Isn't it wonderful? George!
Good morning, darlings.
We have visitors.
Yes, this is Lieutenant Rooney.
Oh, Lieutenant Rooney, how do you do? My, you don't look like the fuss budget that all the other policemen say you are. do sit down.
Why the lieutenant is here? Well, you know, Teddy blew his bugle again last night. And
Yes, we are going to speak to him about that, Lieutenant.
I'm sorry, but it's more serious than that, Miss Brewster.
And this is Mr. Witherspoon. He's the superintendent of Happydale.
Oh, Mr. Witherspoon, how do you do?
You've come to meet Teddy.
He's come to take him.
Oh, no.
Darlings, the police want Teddy to go to Happydale today.
No, that's not until we're gone.
I'm sorry, Miss Brewster, it has to be done. The papers are all signed. He's going with the superintendent today.
We won't permit it. Well, we promise we'll take the bugle away from him.
We won't be separated from Teddy.
I'm sorry, ladies, but the law's the law. He's committed himself. He's going.
Well, if he's going, we're going too.
You'll have to take us with him.
Well, why not?
Well, it's sweet of them to want to, but it's impossible. You see, we don't take sane people at Happydale.
Mr. Witherspoon, if you'll let us come live with Teddy, we'll see that Happydale is in our will for a very large amount.
Well, the good Lord knows we could use the money, but
Let's
rules
be
are
sensible,
rules.
ladies. I'm wasting my entire morning. I have important things to do. Do you know that there are still murders to be solved in Brooklyn?
Yes. Oh, are there?
Yes. And you know, it ain't bad enough that he's blowing his bugle disturbing the peace. And the neighbors are all afraid of him. But things would just get worse, and sooner or later, I'd be put through the trouble of digging up your cellar.
Our cellar?
Yes, your nephew's been spreading rumors that there's 13 bodies in the cellar.
Well, there are 13 bodies in the cellar.
Well, if that's why you think Teddy needs to leave, why, come downstairs with us. We'll show you.
Well, there's one, Mr. Spinalzo, that's going to have to go. The others are our gentlemen.
I don't think the lieutenant would want to do that. He was telling me that not only last year he had to dig up a half-acre lot. Right, Lieutenant?
That's right, that's
When you
right.
have to dig, all the graves are marked. Every Sunday, Sister and I put flowers on it.
Flowers.
Yes.
Superintendent, don't you think you can find room for these
If
ladies?
you don't believe us, just come downstairs and we'll show you.
No, ma'am, I'll take your word for it. I'm a very busy man. How about it, Super?
Well, they have to be committed.
Teddy committed himself. Can't they commit themselves? Can't they sign their own papers?
Certainly. Why not?
If we can stay with Teddy, we'll sign the papers. Where are they?
In my briefcase.
Where
over
are
here.
they? You put these things away. Oh, good morning, Officer Klein.
Hello. Officer Klein, are you here too?
Yeah, me and Barovia got your other nephew out in the kitchen. He's coming around, Lieutenant.
Sign them up, Super. I'd like to get this cleaned up today. 13 bodies.
You sign right here.
Here, Aunt Abby.
Oh, I am so glad to be going. You know, the neighborhood has changed, so.
Imagine a front lawn again.
Oh, we're overlooking something.
What?
We need the signature of a doctor.
Oh, Dr. Einstein, would you come over here? We've just got some papers to sign.
Oh, my. Were you leaving, Doctor?
Please, I think I must.
Well, aren't you going to wait for Jonathan?
I don't think we're going to the same place.
Hello, Elaine. Stick around, huh?
Don't worry, I plan to.
Matt, Rooney. Listen, we caught that fella that's wanted in Indiana. Right there on my desk is a description of his accomplice. Would you read it to me? 5'8", about 48 years old, 180 pounds, blue eyes, speaks with a German accent, poses as a doctor. Thanks, Matt.
It's all right, Lieutenant. The doctor here has completed the necessary signatures.
Thank you, Doc. Real Brooklyn and great shirt.
Now, Mr. Brewster, you sign here as next of kin.
Of course, right there.
That's fine.
Okay. That makes everything complete. Everything legal?
Yes.
Well, aunties, now you're safe.
Now, when will you ladies let you start?
Well, why don't you go upstairs and tell Teddy what things he might bring with him?
Upstairs?
I'll show you.
No, Mortimer. Stay down here. We want to speak to you. It's just upstairs, Mr. Witherspoon, and to your left.
You see, dear, now that we're going to be leaving, we would like you to have the house.
Yes, we want you to live here.
I couldn't possibly live here. This house is too full of memories.
Well, you and Elaine will need a home when you're married.
Darlings, that's very indefinite.
Nothing of the sort. We're going to be married right away.
Oh, Mortimer. Mortimer, there's something that we're terribly worried about.
Oh, don't worry, darlings. You're going to love it at Happydale.
Oh, we're very happy about that. That's just it. We don't want anything to go wrong.
Mortimer, they're not going to investigate those signatures, are they?
Don't worry. They're not going to look up Dr. Einstein.
It's not his signature, dear. It's yours.
You see, you signed as next of kin.
Yes, of course.
Well,
Mortimer, it's something we never wanted to tell you. But now you are a man, and it is something Elaine ought to know. You see, Mortimer, you're not really a Brewster.
you see, your mother came to us as a cook. And about 3 months later, you were born. And she was such a sweet woman and such a wonderful cook. We didn't want to lose her. So Brother married her.
I'm not really a Brewster.
Oh, now don't feel badly about it.
And it won't matter to you, will it, Elaine?
Elaine, did you hear? Do you understand? I'm a bastard!
Well, I'd better get started with breakfast.
Oh, don't worry about that, dear. Father's out of town and Mortimer is coming to my house for breakfast.
Yes, I could use some coffee. I've had a long night.
Well, then I should think you'd want to go to bed.
I do.
One moment, Witherspoon. Take this with you.
We won't need the wagon. My car's right out front.
Jonathan, are you leaving too?
There's
Yes.
some people in Indiana that want to take care of him for the rest of his life.
Oh, wonderful. You have some place to go and people to look after you.
We're leaving too.
We're going to Happydale.
Then this house is seeing the last of the Brewsters.
Unless Mortimer wants to live here.
I have a suggestion to make. Why don't you turn this property over to the church?
Oh, we never thought of that.
After all, it should be part of the cemetery.
Let's go.
Goodbye, aunties. Well, I can't better my record now, but neither can you. At least I have that satisfaction. The score stands even, 12-12.
That Jonathan, he always was such a mean boy. Never could stand to see anyone get ahead of him.
I wish there was some way we could prove to him that he's not so smart. Mr. Witherspoon, does your family live with you in Happydale?
I have no family.
Oh, well, I suppose you consider everyone at Happydale to be your family.
You don't understand. You see, as the head of the institution, I have to keep myself quite aloof.
Oh, that must be so terribly lonely for you.
It is, but my duty is my duty.
Well, Martha, if Mr. Witherspoon can't join us for breakfast, perhaps he can join us in a glass of our elderberry wine.
elderberry wine.
We make it ourselves.
Why, yes. At Happy Dad, we'd have to keep our relationship a little more formal, but here, you don't see much of elderberry wine nowadays. I thought I drank my last glass of it.
Oh no! Here it is.